I'm Billy Frank. I'm on alongside the Nisqually River, and I'm standing here with my friend Professor Bob Anderson of the University of Washington Law School. And this right down here is the landing, Frank's Landing Indian Community, where we fished in back in 60s, all the 60s. Right now where we're standing is all Fort Lewis Army land. Across the river is the landing on the Thurston County side. But that's all of our land down around that corner right there. And this is Nisqually River, which we're at right now. And our Indian reservation is about 8 miles up the river, Nisqually Indian Reservation. And but this is where the fighting went on. The fighting that started when I was 14 years old. My dad had lived up on this army side, up in the Muck Creek Village. He owned 205 acres, and in 1916, the army started they wanted all that land, Pierce County, in the army, and so they moved us out of there, and my dad moved down to the mouth of the river, and the U.S. government took this land, the landing, into trust, like the 205 acres up there. And so here, and this is where I was born and raised, and all of us kids born and raised down here at the mouth of the river. But
Stop for a second
here they're protecting us.
That's the sound of freedom.
Exactly, and I got the helicopter, the general's phone number in my pocket.
All right, that's good.
His
So what,
helicopter phone number.
now, what was going on around treaty times, 1854, 55, when Governor Stevens came down here? Where were Nisqually people living right on the river, and
Yeah.
where?
Well, we all lived on this whole top of this, and up like about 5-6 miles is the canyons up the Nisqually River, and but all of our people lived on both sides of the river here, clean from the mouth of the river, clean on the islands, clean up to the mountain, and so and during the treaty times, well, the treaty was signed just about a mile over here on Medicine Creek, and all of the canoes came, all of the tribes here came and signed them treaties over there, and they had a big celebration over there on the mouth of the Nisqually River and Medicine Creek over there. But treaty times were, my dad always said, my dad lived to be 104, and we lived right here at the landing, and he always said, we had everything. We just had everything. We had our medicines, we had our sustainable salmon, our cedar trees, we could make canoes. We had berries up in the mountain. We had the shellfish down here, and the salmon come back every year. Salmon would come back and feed us. We didn't have to have anything. We didn't have light bill. We didn't have anything. We lived. We lived as the Creator put us here to live. And now today, there's no more fish. We got a lot of comprehensive plans with the state of Washington and all of our tribes now trying to restore the salmon back into our rivers and get in-stream flows, and a lot of management is going on. But the treaty days were happy days before the treaties were signed. There was not a lot of people moved in here. Like across the river, you can see all these houses now. But and this highway is the old 99 here. None of that there was only one road that went across the river, and that was the old wooden bridge right down here. The Stillicum Road that went up into Olympia. But, I think our tribes on this watershed and all the other watersheds were completely happy because they had everything to eat. They had potlatches. They gave away their food. brought all the tribes in. When they had marriages, when they were given the names away of their children, you know, and they had these ceremonies, big ceremonies that last for weeks at a time, you know, and we'd send our runners over to Yakima, over to some of our relatives on the other side of the mountain, and tell them we're going to celebrate over here. We're going to have a marriage, or we're going to have a giveaway of some type, and they would come over here. Now, there's a big eagle right here that tells us that everything is all right. He's coming right over the top of us right now, and he's looking at us. He's a young eagle. He's just learning how to fly right now, and his mother and dad is around here somewhere watching him right here. You know, but this was a happy country. You know, today it's not so happy. You know, today is we're just trying to survive now in Indian country, and it don't look good. It don't look good. We got too many people. We got too many people coming here. The water is precious to all of us that's living here, and it's getting less and less. So we need a lot of management. We need a lot of leadership. We need the United States government to start standing up and managing our resource in this country of ours, this great country of ours. It's so pretty. And but the fighting went on here for the simple reason of there was no salmon coming back here. You know, the salmon, as you know, Bob, the salmon were intercepted way out in the ocean, and up in Alaska and Canada, and within the inside of Puget Sound now, the non-Indian community intercepted the fish before they got here to the river, and went up and spawned and reproduced, and the cycle starts all over again in life. Well, they never got here, and so that is when the U.S. versus Washington came about. And U.S. versus Washington in 1974 was rendered in Tacoma, Washington, and Judge Bolt interpreted the treaties, and a lot of great things come out of that treaties. One, for instance, was we are now managers. The tribes are managers. We have our own. We write our own regulations. And there's a train. I hear the train a-coming. There it is.
Yeah. When did you first hear about the treaty? When you were a little boy, people talk about the treaty right to fish?
Yeah, my dad always talked about, you know, son, they can't stop you from fishing here, you know. This is all your usual and accustomed fishing area, you know, all through the islands and everywhere where we dig clams and flounders and all of our feeding grounds out there, you know. The state of Washington, when they became a state, they start writing laws against the Indian tribes, all of us Indians. You know, they said, stay on the reservation. You can fish up there, but you can't come off that reservation. And the salmon never did get back to us anyhow, you know, so that's what the fight was all about. And a lot of us went to jail over and over in contempt of court at the state of Washington court. And we finally, the United States took our case and it went to federal court. And that's when good things started to happen for all of us. And my last arrest, I think, was in 1973. And from 14 years old, I'm now 77, damn near 78 in March. And so all of that time, you know, just living on the river, still living on the river, and still watching everything. This river right now is one of the best managed rivers in the state of Washington. It has in-stream flows, you know, and a lot of good people is working to make this river healthy, you know.
To go back to that, what was going on before Bolt's decision, what did these game wardens and state judges say when you showed them the language in the treaty that said you have the right to fish at usual and accustomed stations? I mean, it's clear, and the Supreme Court had interpreted that in your favor several times before, 1947.
Yeah, and it got to be kind of a laugh because I never had any money. None of us had money here, and so we'd get a appointed attorney, to represent us in these state cases, and they'd always read the treaty. Our attorneys would, but the judges would all rule against them. The state judges would all rule against the law and the language. What they'd say. As long as the rivers run and the grass is green, you'll have a right to fish. That's what the treaties say. And but it don't mean anything in the state court. It never meant anything. And the state of Washington had to get in federal court to where they addressed the treaties and then starting to interpret it. So, but the state, we lost in every state court. There was one Superior Court judge in Tacoma, I think his name was Romney. He ruled for us, and he got voted out the next time around. He ruled for the tribes, and so gone. And so, but the politics was set,
Yeah.
There was so anti-Indian in this state. I mean, this racism was just well and healthy, and it's still here, but it's not as much anymore because we established our treaty right. We established our management, the recognition of our tribes are here, and but you could not, everyone in the political arenas here would run on anti-Indian position. Their platform was anti-Indian. I want to get rid of these guys.
Yeah.
These Indians. They're the bad guys. And so they'd get elected. Today that's different. There's nobody running on anti-Indian anymore. So that's better.
Yeah.
But the resource is slowly slipping away from us, and I think you look across the whole country, and they'd tell you the same story wherever we go.
People just have to keep fighting it, like you spent. Your people spent 100 years fighting for your treaty rights before the U.S. filed suit.
Don't give up. Right along here is where we did a lot of the fighting because we were fishing all up and down the river right here, and it was off the reservation here. And the state of Washington was always, they were after us. I mean, they'd bring game wardens from eastern Washington over here, and there'd be 60, 70, 80 of them, State Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, everybody would come down, and a lot of it was harassment, and then it got to arresting us, and then it got to stealing our nets. Stealing our boats, and so, they had a strategy of getting us off the river, We'd come here and we'd throw a net out there without a boat, and people would give us boats, old boats people that were non-Indian people would bring their boats down and say, you guys need a boat, here's a boat, go fishing. And we had old nets that we were putting together to keep fishing, But we were struggling, we were struggling to keep our nets in the water and keep our fishermen fishing, And there was a lot of us. There wasn't just me, but there was a lot of us Indians, and a lot of our non-Indian friends, and we were all. Made it happen.